Welcome everyone. Chag to Bishvat Sameach. Thank you all for joining tonight's Pirkei shiur, given by our learned, well-respected brother Rav Dov. May our learning be in the zechut of our beloved dad, Le'iloi Nishmat Harav Avraham Chaim ben Eliezer Yaakov, Zecher Tzadek Livracha. He was truly the ultimate living embodiment of Pirkei Avos. Over to you, Dov.
Okay, welcome all on this special Ziedy Halimud, and Avos is all about the father, the mother, the parents, the past. Tu Bishvat is really all about the Paris. That's the future, children, Bezat Hashem, grandchildren, the Doiros. And Bezat Hashem, in the zechus of our great Avos and your great Avos, may we be zocher to gute peiros. That's the tefillah for Tu Bishvat. We should be zocher to every embodiment of gute peiros, successful generations, children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren. Peiros includes good parnasa, includes one's Torah, one's mitzvahs, one's chidushim. Bezat Hashem, even this shiur, the divrei Torah that we share, le'inu nishmas, Avinu Moreinu, is his peiros. These are the peiros that Abba and Tibodel Chaim Tovim, Ima, the peiros that they planted, we're sharing together. And as was mentioned, we study Avos, our great sages, and Avos, Avinu, we study our father, our parent. I've often mentioned that all Avelim should pass through the crucible of Avos and Mishna, everything that they remember about their beloved ones, their departed ones, because that's the greatest honor. And even if it's just some Mishnayos that one thinks embody the personality, well, that's really the finest way of a Zecher Neshama and a Ilu Neshama. So let's continue with, we're now on Perek, Aleph, Mishna 6. In the Heilige Avos, the sixth of the Mishnayos, goes as follows. Yehoshua ben Parachya v'nitai ha'arbeli kiblu mehem. They received the tradition from them. Yehoshua ben Parachya, he was the first of this zug. Remember, Klal Yisrael was being led in tandem by two great giants. The first of them was the Nasi, great Talmud Chacham. Second of them was the Avbezdin, equally great Talmud Chacham, whose major focus was the day-to-day running of Bezdin. So the first of the two, Yehoshua ben Parachya Omer, Asei Lechol Rav. These were his three maxims and mottos for Klal Yisrael. Asei Lechol Rav. Appoint a teacher for yourself. Number two, Uknei Lechol Chaver. Acquire, buy a friend for yourself if you want. And number three, Vehevedan eskol ha'adam lechaf zuchus, and judge everyone favorably. So it's fascinating to think, where do these three items fit in? Are they a coherent single message? Are they about three different topics? What was Yehoshua ben Parachya saying? So let's take, according to the angle we've been discussing, the Zugus at the beginning of Pirkei Avos, we're dealing with the major transition from the lack of prophecy, the demise of Nevuah, of direct communication from Hashem, to a Yiddishkeit based on learning, on Torah, on Chochmah. And he too here is continuing from his forebears from the previous Zug. Remember, first it was about Torah, and then it came to the home, the ikar of A culture of learning is not only the Beis Midrash. The home has to be a place of learning, of kindness. That's what we've been discussing. And now he's taking it one layer deeper. He's moving society, the whole of Yiddishkeit, one layer deeper. And what does he say? How do you create this society, a culture of Torah, a culture of learning that will enable a lebendige Yiddishkeit as though we still had thousands of prophets amongst us? How do you achieve that? He said it's not good enough just to have strong Batei Midrash. It's not even good enough just to, in addition to that, have strong homes, bastions of Torah, places where the sages meet regularly, where Torah is studied regularly. It's still not sufficient. Amazing. What more do you need to add to that? This is what Rabbi Yehoshua ben Parachya is saying. This hemshech of a door of Chokhmah, you have to bring Torah not just to your home. You have to bring it to your inner life, your inner world. He says this is the key to creating a society, a culture of Torah. Not just your home. You, the chambers of your very heart. And how do you do that? It's not good enough just to have sages in your home, that the sages are comfortable to be in your home. It's not even good enough that you have a lot of sfarim, although that's very important. He says there's a certain attitude that is crucial. What is this attitude? These are the three nekudas that our Mishna discusses. Number one, aseh lecho rav. You have to appoint for yourself a rav, someone great. You need someone who's greater than you. That's aseh lecho rav. You must have a great Talmud Chacham in your life. It's not good enough just that you attend many shiurim, that you read very widely and you know all the opinions. You've checked out the latest art scroll and you've seen all the opinions on the subject. Not good enough. You need Rav, the word ribui, someone greater than you in your life. You need somebody who knows you, not just someone who knows a lot of Torah. That's important. But it also has to be someone who understands you and your koiches and your challenges and your contribution. That's what the Nevi'im used to tell us. Exactly what your path was meant to do. What are you meant to do? We don't have Nevuah, but we have Chachomim. And not just Chachomim, Rav, aseh lecho Rav. Make for yourself someone great to be your Rebbe. We'll discuss it further in a few moments. But let's have a look at the diktuk of the Lashon. According to the way the English translate it, the point for yourself, a Rav, it really should have said, B'char lecha Rav. Choose a Rav, or listen to your Rav. It doesn't say that, it says aseh lecha. Aseh doesn't just mean appointing for yourself a Rav. It means you have to make him into your Rav. How do you make someone into your Rav? What do you have to do to him? You make him into your Rav. I think one of the key answers is you have to make him into Rav. You have to put him on a pedestal. Because Torah has to come from a higher place. If Torah, the Gemara says, is compared to water, it's always running down to a lower place, and therefore, the greater the man, the less ego. Because the Torah runs away from the Balagaiva, runs to the lower place. But inherent in that mashal is that Torah has to come from a higher place also. If your Torah, you love your Rebbe so much as your best friend, that's wonderful, but you're not going to find another Rav. Why? Aseh lecho Rav. You have to make him, put him on a pedestal, treat him as if he's greater than you, even if he's not, even though between you and your inner circle, he's not that great. Never mind. You need to appoint, you need to make someone a Rav. It's just the nature of Torah. Torah doesn't come from friendship. It's vital that you should love your Rav. But aseh lecho, we're not talking about how to win friends over here. That our Mishna is all about Torah. And the first part of Torah is, it is crucial that the Yid has a Rav. And you have to make him into a Rav, because that connects you to his Rav, which connects you to his Rav. And you become a Talmud of the Gro, of Rabbi Akiva, of the Rambam, Moshe Rabbeinu, and eventually of the Shekhinah HaKadoshah. Moshe Mepi HaGevurah. When you interact with someone who's greater than you become greater. It's the key to growing is not from Svarim. We don't really grow from Svarim. Svarim can direct us. But the real growth is when we interact with someone who's on a higher level, on a pedestal, and he talks to us and he raises us up by his communication, and you walk away thinking, my word, how great he is and how great I am. You became greater in that process of interacting with Rav. So therefore, the cornerstone of this Yiddishkeit is Aseh Lecho Rav. There's an old picture, I'm sure many of you have seen it, of the Tanzer Yeshiva. And there were two Rosh Yeshiva, and I think it was Rav Ruderman, the Baltimore Rosh Yeshiva, was visiting Telz. And flanking them, as they were leaving the building, going towards their car, there are two Bochrim. There was my father, and next to him, his dear, lifelong friend of Azir Goldman. And it captures something, that picture. It captures something. I don't know where everyone else was, but clearly, maybe the Yeshiva was on break. Maybe they were busy learning. These two Bochrim, and my children actually pointed it out to me, they were tracking the Gedolim, the Rabbonim, the Rosh Yeshivas, and the Gadol Yisrael was visiting. They were watching, they were riveted, they were focused in a totally natural way. They weren't self-aware, but it captures something, that picture. It captures Mazir Rav. There's a wonderful Hasidic pshat on this. Aseh Lecho Rav. It means the flip side. What's Aseh Lecho Rav? Lecho, make yourself into a Rav, not just make the Rav great. You make yourself great. Why must you make yourself great? Because there are two attitudes in Musar. Some say that a person has to look at himself with scorn and say, me, what a nobody am I? How dare I not keep the halacha? How dare I do an Avera Chas V'Shalom? But there's another view that says that's not how you talk to yourself. The way you got to talk to yourself is, me, a choshev, a yid like me? Someone who's a shtickle Talmud Chacham? How could I do such a thing? How could I let myself down, my family down, my parents down? That's what our Mishna is. It's included in this Lashon. Aseh Lecho Rav. You've got to make yourself a Rav who's higher than you. But also, the purpose of that is to make you Rav. Because if your Rav is great and he's Makar of you, that makes you great. That's the key to your character growth. Because it's objective. It comes from the outside. It just lifts you up. Every time you have the opportunity to spend a few moments in the presence of an Adam Gadol, you just feel uplifted. Let's continue with the Lashon that says, Aseh Lecho Rav. The main Asiyah is you. How do you make yourself a Rav, someone great? You should be a Talmud. The way you make yourself a great Rebbe, have yourself a great Rebbe to learn from, to grow from, is you have to make, what's the Asiyah, the making? Make yourself into a Talmud. Place yourself to all your Rabbeim, to anyone who can teach you, be a Talmud. Sublimate your ego. It's not a competition. Make yourself into a Talmud who's ready to learn. Make yourself available to be taught and even sometimes to be criticized. It's not only when everything is perfect. It's not only when you're getting lavish praise from your Rabbeim. Even when they're chiseling, nevertheless, take it. Take it. Be strong enough to take it. That's how Dad was. He made an asiyah. He humbled himself to learn from people. I'm going to mention one name, although so many come to mind. And I know my dad would have wanted me to mention that name. Yeah. He loved Rav David Hollander. Rav David Hollander was niftar in the last couple of years, maybe 5 years ago. He lived till his 90s, didn't have children, but he achieved great things in his life. And one of the, he used to come to South Africa. Dad brought him out for the Yeshiva college to fundraise. And he was a master orator. And my dad viewed him as his Rebbe Le'inyan Droshes. How to give a drosha, how to choose a subject, how to say a word, how to tell a story. And he used to go with him from door to door. That's how he remembered everybody's grandparents in Johannesburg, where they worked, exactly the address, sometimes even the phone number. Never mind the names. Those trips with Rav Hollander to everybody's office. And he used to sit there in the car with Rav Hollander year after year after year. And he used to learn, put himself at his feet, learn how do you give a drosha. And the rest is history. He became a master darshan, even though he always claimed, Dad always claimed, he was innately shy to the point that he couldn't open his mouth. He didn't have any confidence. He attributed Rav Hollander's lessons, Rav David Hollander, Zichrono Livrocha. He gave him eitzes and he took lessons from him. Dad always said, I can't believe that Moshe Sternbuch we zoche to such friends. What did we ever do to be zoche that people like that should consider us friends? Rav Moshe, Rav Ezrachi, Rav Kahana. It wasn't, he never treated Gedolim as a relationship of peers. He had this attitude, I say lechor Rav, you meet someone special, he can teach you something, make yourself into a Talmud. Even though many of them, in many ways, regarded him as a peer, they respected him, they admired him. And how can a Rav, after all, make decisions for you in the intricacies of your life? It depends upon so many nuances of your personality and your situation. Who can compute all of that? Answer is, we believe that there's a special siyata dishmaya, as Dad used to say, siyata dishmaya. If you believe that this man is your Rebbe, that he's your pipeline from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that through him comes your siyata dishmaya to grow in spirituality, to be close to Hashem, Hashem is not going to mislead you through such a person. If he's a tzaddik, and he's a Yerei Shamayim, and he's smarter than you, it's not on his brains alone that we rely. We rely on the fact that Hashem said, Asay lechor Rav. And if you appoint such a person, and you humble yourself to learn from him, to accept direction from him, you will not be misled. We may not have prophecy, but we have siyata dishmaya of Asay lechor Rav. And the ikar is, Asay lecha, you have to be in his olam. Dad chapped every opportunity that he can to be close to an Adam Gadol. Rav Hutner once came to Telz for a few days. My dad chapped the opportunity. He had a car. In those days, it was already an Avrech, a younger man. They had already offered him the job in Johannesburg. He drove him around all day to learn from Rav Hutner. Asked him all answers. One of them, he asked him, can he come to South Africa? Does he think it will be all right? His wife thinks that it will be okay. What does he think? Rav Hutner said to him, and Mom, you'll remember this. What did Rav Hutner say? He said, with a wife like yours, you can even go to Johannesburg. Don't worry, you go, you'll be all right. The number 2 in the Mishna, and we're running out of time now, is Knei Lecha Chaver. It's not good enough just to Asay Lecha Rav, to humble yourself at the feet of great people, to allow them to grow you. That's point 1. Number 2, you also need a Chaver who's not coming from higher than you. Someone who understands the challenges because he comes from a similar place to you. He's your chaver, a good friend. He understands the issues. He understands, he's part of your door already. He's part of your situation, your matzah. You need that so that when you hear the Rav, you hear him in stereo. When you've got an issue, you know you can talk to someone. Rabbeinu Yonah says a magnificent analysis of why do you need a friend? Our Mishna, as we said, we're talking about Torah. We're talking about a transformation of a society, and it's pertinent to us after the Holocaust, into a culture of learning again. And one of the keys to that is a chaver, a good friend. Knei lecha chaver. A friend, he says, someone you can learn with, someone you can discuss ideas with, someone you can get eitzes with. The Rebbe said this, I'm not sure how I'm going to... Someone you take eitzes from someone who understands you. And mitzvahs. Sometimes the Torah convinces us, we get a bribe that something's okay, but we know it's not okay. But we're bribed. We've got a shochet. Your friend doesn't have that shochet. He just sees you doing the wrong thing. It's going to hurt him. There's no pleasure in it for him. So that friend who's close, that's how close he's got to be. He will remonstrate with you in the most gentle way possible. He'll say, my Torah chaver, you're too important. For this, you need a friend. Torah needs a good friend. Such a good friend, you have to invest in it. You actually have to purchase it. You have to use money on it. Even that. Why? Why knei? Why shouldn't we just get together because we like each other? Because our Mishna is not talking about that kind of friend. It's not a friend who you can simply shoot the breeze with, pass a good time with, discuss current events. Not just that. That's also important. But there's a chaver like your Rav. Somebody who creates a society for you that's uplifted. That's a different sort of chaver. That's a chaver who you have to make a decision. I need this man in my life. This is a good peer for me. He's a good fellow, the Lashon fellow. He's a good chaver for me. He's going to help me network for Torah. It's going to be good for my Torah. It's going to be good for my environment. He's going to help me. That's the kind of chaver that we're talking about. He's an important partner in your avodah satorah, in your avodah for Klal Yisrael. And that you can't rely on just happening simply because we get on well. That's also important. But that's just the beginning. Knei lecha chaver. Even if you don't think necessarily, the guy might not be exactly the personality type that you would have figured. But he's good for you, he's good for your Yiddishkeit, he's good for your Torah. Invest in that man. And how do you invest in him? Knei, even with money, even with gifts. Why? It's not a manipulation. It's saying, I value you. When you spend on someone, even if he can afford his own jar of coffee, but you buy him one, you buy him a bottle of wine for a yontif. You're saying to him, I value our relationship. I'm investing in it. That was the Goanatus. An important part of his avodah of building Torah in Johannesburg. He remembered people's simchas. He remembered them on Yontav. And he remembered them even when he traveled overseas. He had found from overseas to say Good Shabbos, but more than that, he brought people gifts regularly. He was being Chaim this Mishna. Knei lecha, show him how much you value him. Why? It's going to give you a more powerful network for Hashem, for Torah. And that's what he taught us. And Rashi actually says that we're not talking, he says we're talking about Sfarim even. Sfarim are your friends. The point is, we're not talking about the friend in terms of pro-social behavior. That has its place. But that's not in the beginning of Avos. In the beginning of Avos, we're talking about building a culture of Torah. It's interesting just to note that it doesn't say anywhere Talmidim. We know that the Gemara tells us you learn from your Rebbes, from your friends, and even more from your Talmidim. Why doesn't it say make yourself Talmidim? Answer is, you're never supposed to make yourself Talmidim. Let them make you into a Rebbe. You concentrate on making your Rebbe into your Rebbe, and your peers into Gute Chaverim. When Hashem wants, he's going to send people that also be Talmidim. But that's not something you have to make anyone into your Talmid. And finally, I really have to conclude now with this last concept of our Mishna is you have to judge all people favorably. And the question is, if this Mishna is about building a culture of Torah, of learning, of Yiras Shamayim, why is it bringing in, judge all people favorably? Kol ha'adam, judge all people favorably. And the answer is, if you don't learn how to judge everybody kindly, you're not going to ever have a Rav. Why? Because nobody can fit your exacting standards. The Rav is sometime going to say something to you that he shouldn't have, or he's going to not be as warm as he should have. If you're not prepared to make a prior commitment, a decision, he is the Rav. I'm going to judge him favorably, and I'm going to judge my friends favorably. Otherwise, you got no friends, because nobody's perfect. So it's crucial to this world of relationship. Success in this world is success in human relationships. Success in Torah is success in relationships of Torah. A Rebbe, a Chaver. Your wife is your best Chaver, by the way. Knei lecha Chaver starts with your wife. But the success that we're talking about is the success of relationships. And therefore, the key to that is nobody's ever perfect. Don't expect them to be perfect. Make a prior decision. Any error, we're going to judge in your favor. Any doubt is in your favor. Amazing. Dad always used to love saying this word. Have done, if you look carefully at the Lashon, it's called ha'adam. Doesn't say judge every person. Kol adam. Kol ha'adam. The whole of every person. And he used to love saying, I believe it was from the Sfas Emes, that if you would be able to understand Kol ha'adam, everything about this person, you understood his upbringing, his challenges, his difficulties, his exposures, you would definitely be able to judge him kindly. You would see the innocence. You would be able to look at him well. The reason we can't is because we take a narrow view. Dad always said, don't take the narrow view, take the bigger view. There are lots of factors that you don't know about. And perhaps it's safe to say, perhaps, Kol ha'adam means even yourself. Be gentle on yourself. Don't be your most vicious, strong critic. Don't be that. We can't do that in this generation. Give yourself also the benefit of the doubt. But certainly, even more so, other people. There's so much more to say, Rabbi Sa, but I'm going to stop over here. And as Dad always taught, you need a Rebbe. Without a Rebbe, you can't grow. You need a Chaver. And we need them, our Rabbeim, those who can teach us, and our Chaverim, those who can bond with us and network with us to be the better people that we want to be. Those people, we need them to have a benevolent view of us. And the way to ensure that they have a benevolent view of us is if we have a benevolent view of others. And therefore our Mishna concludes, get used to being kindly in your judgment, in your evaluation of all people, then you will attract great people, good people to your life. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you so much, Dov. Well, that was really outstanding, very inspiring. I have no doubt that Dad is looking down and smiling and getting so much nachas from your continuing what he started. Thanks everyone for joining tonight. Have a good evening.